Land. It's a word that carries so much weight and significance. It's the ground beneath our feet, the very earth that supports us as we go about our daily lives. It's the foundation of our homes, the places where we find comfort and shelter. And it's the source of our food, the fertile ground that provides the crops and livestock we depend on. But have you ever stopped to think about who actually owns it? Who holds the power over this essential resource? In the UK, land ownership is a fascinating and often overlooked issue. It's a complex web of history, law, and economics. It affects everything from housing prices to the environment, influencing the very fabric of our society. Understanding who owns what is crucial for understanding how our society works. It's about power, control, and influence. We often take for granted that we can walk down a street, enjoy a park, or build a house. These everyday activities are all tied to land ownership. But all of that depends on who owns the land. Ownership dictates what can be built, what can be preserved, and who can access these spaces. It dictates what happens on it, who benefits from it, and how much it costs. The decisions made by landowners can shape entire communities, and the cost of land can determine who can afford to live in certain areas, impacting social mobility and economic opportunity. In this essay, we'll dig deep into the world of UK land ownership, uncovering the history, the key players, and the ongoing debate about its future. We'll explore how historical events have shaped current ownership patterns and how these patterns continue to evolve. Get ready to be surprised by who really holds the deeds to this green and pleasant land. From ancient aristocratic families to modern-day corporations, the story of land ownership in the UK is full of twists and turns. Historically, land ownership in the UK was concentrated in the hands of a few powerful families. These aristocratic landowners held vast estates, passed down through generations. Today, the landscape has changed, but the legacy of these historical ownership patterns still influences modern land distribution. Large corporations and investment firms have become significant landowners, buying up property for development and investment. Meanwhile, community groups and local councils are also playing a role, seeking to manage land for public benefit and sustainable development. The debate over land ownership is not just about economics. It's also about environmental stewardship and social justice. As we face challenges like climate change and urbanization, the question of who owns the land becomes even more critical. Land ownership affects everyone, from the wealthiest landowners to the most vulnerable members of society. Policymakers and activists are calling for reforms to make land ownership more transparent and equitable. As we look to the future, the way we manage and distribute land will shape the kind of society we become. So, who really owns the land? It's a question with no simple answer, but one that holds the key to understanding our past, present, and future. Join us as we explore this vital issue, uncovering the hidden stories and surprising truths about land ownership in the UK. Unlike some countries where the government owns most of the land, the UK is a patchwork of different owners. This unique mosaic of ownership creates a fascinating and complex landscape, both literally and figuratively. The land is divided among a variety of entities, from ancient aristocratic families to modern-day institutions and individual homeowners. Imagine a giant jigsaw puzzle, with each piece representing a different landowner. Each piece fits into the larger picture, but the sizes and shapes vary dramatically. Some pieces are large and sprawling, while others are small and compact, reflecting the diverse nature of land ownership in the UK. Some pieces are huge, owned by ancient families or powerful institutions, while others are tiny, belonging to individual homeowners. These large estates often come with historic manor houses and vast tracts of countryside, while the smaller pieces might be suburban homes with modest gardens. The first thing you'd notice about this puzzle is that it's not evenly divided. The distribution of land is highly uneven, with a small number of large landowners holding a significant portion of the land, while many smaller owners hold much less. A small number of players own a surprisingly large chunk of the UK. These major landowners include the Crown, the aristocracy, large corporations, and institutions such as the Church of England. Their holdings can be vast, encompassing thousands of acres. This concentration of ownership has sparked debate for centuries, with some arguing for a fairer distribution of this valuable resource. Land reform has been a contentious issue, with various movements and protests advocating for changes to the way land is owned and managed. So, who are these landowners? They range from the nobility, who have held land for generations, to modern-day investors and developers. Each group has its own interests and priorities, shaping the landscape in different ways. Let's meet the key players and see how much of the puzzle they control. From the vast estates of the aristocracy to the smaller plots owned by individual homeowners, each piece of the puzzle tells a story of history, power, and change. Understanding this patchwork of ownership helps us appreciate the rich tapestry of the UK's landscape and the ongoing debates about its future. When you think of landowners, you might picture grand estates and aristocratic families, and you wouldn't be far off. While their holdings have shrunk over the centuries, these families still own a significant chunk of the UK. Names like the Duke of Buccleuch and the Grosvenor family might ring a bell.
These families often inherited their land generations ago, passed down through centuries of inheritance. Some use their land for farming, forestry, or even renewable energy projects.
Others lease it out for housing or commercial development.
Their continued influence on the landscape, both literal and economic, is a reminder of the UK's long and complex history of land ownership. Now let's talk about the Crown Estate. This is an institution that often gets overshadowed by the glittering tiaras and the dazzling jewels of the monarchy. But there's so much more to it than meets the eye. No, it's not just about crowns and jewels. The Crown Estate is a vast and intricate network of properties and lands that play a crucial role in the UK's economy and public life. This vast portfolio of land and property belongs to the reigning monarch, but it's not theirs to sell or keep the profits from. Instead, it is held in trust for the nation, managed independently to ensure its value is maximized for the benefit of the public.
Instead, the Crown Estate is managed independently, and the revenue goes to the Treasury, benefiting the public purse. This means that the profits generated from these properties are used to fund public services, infrastructure, and other essential needs of the country. Think of it like a giant national trust fund, owning everything from prime real estate in London to stretches of the seabed. The Crown Estate's portfolio is incredibly diverse, including urban developments, rural estates, and even renewable energy projects like offshore wind farms. It's a fascinating example of how land ownership can be used for public good, even if it's technically owned by the monarch. The Crown Estate ensures that these lands and properties are accessible and beneficial to the public, providing spaces for recreation, conservation, and community activities.
The Crown Estate shows that land ownership can be complex, with blurred lines between private and public control. It challenges the traditional notions of ownership and highlights the potential for land to serve a greater purpose beyond individual wealth. This unique arrangement allows the Crown Estate to contribute significantly to the nation's economy while preserving its historical and cultural heritage. The history of the Crown Estate dates back centuries, evolving through various monarchs and political changes. Each era has left its mark on the estate, shaping it into the multifaceted entity it is today. From medieval times to the modern era, the Crown Estate has adapted to meet the changing needs of society. Today, the Crown Estate is at the forefront of sustainable development and innovation. It invests in projects that promote environmental sustainability, economic growth, and social well-being. Whether it's developing green spaces in urban areas or supporting local communities through various initiatives, the Crown Estate continues to play a vital role in shaping the future of the UK. So, the next time you think of the Crown Estate, Remember that it's not just about tiaras and royal ceremonies. It's a dynamic and evolving institution that impacts the lives of millions of people across the UK. From generating revenue for public services to preserving natural landscapes, the Crown Estate is a testament to the power of land and property to serve the greater good. The Crown Estate is a remarkable example of how tradition and modernity can coexist, creating a legacy that benefits both the present and future generations. It's a story of stewardship, innovation, and the enduring value of land as a public asset. Of course, not all land is in private hands. The UK government, through various departments and agencies, owns a significant portion of the country. This public land includes national parks, forests, military training grounds, and even government buildings.
The idea behind public land is that it's held in trust for the benefit of all citizens. We can enjoy access to nature, use public services, and benefit from the resources these lands provide. However, managing public land comes with responsibilities.
The government must balance competing demands, such as conservation, recreation, and economic development, ensuring these valuable assets are protected for future generations. Another major landowner in the UK is the Church of England. Over the centuries, the Church has amassed a substantial portfolio of land, including churches, vicarages, glebe land, and even some agricultural land.
While the Church's landholdings are not as vast as they once were, they still play a significant role in many communities. The Church uses its land for various purposes, from supporting local parishes to providing affordable housing.
The Church's role as a landowner often intersects with its social mission, raising questions about how best to use its resources to serve the community.